Welcome back to Genesis Does. I'm your host, Mr. MegaManFan, and today we are looking at Air Management Oozora ni Kakeru. And if I said that wrong, I am so sorry. It's the best I can do as a gaijin. So, what we have here is a Japanese simulation strategy turn-based game, which at first from the name I thought was going to be working in an air purifying plant, providing clean air, maybe making oxygen, and then at the very beginning, I see the front view out of an airplane from the cockpit. And I'm like, okay, no, it's a flight simulator. We're actually managing planes in the air, hence air management. No, it's not that either. This is actually a airline rivalry game where what you are managing is the business of an airline, trying to make it the most profitable and successful airline that you can. And you can pick from two different time periods to do that in, one starting in the 1960s and one starting in the 1980s. But either way, your goal is the same. Dominate the aero industry and topple all of your rivals for supremacy. Basically, you want to become the one airline to rule them all. Without a ring, of course. You just want to crush the competition by offering more flights to more places, with more on-time arrivals and departures, and fewer customer complaints, and the most profit you can possibly make. Now, unfortunately, given this is entirely in Japanese, I have no idea how to do that. So, when I had the option to select from 1 to 4 players, either human or computer controlled, I thought, you know what? I might as well just do computer control because I'm not going to be able to figure this out in Japanese, and I might as well just let the computer play for me and see how it turns out. But I will give them credit for a very lavish introduction. Koei certainly put the full effort into making this presentation visually appealing, including the praise they lavished over each plane they provided a still photo of. So clearly the designers of this game were affectionate for the airline business and wanted to portray it in a very positive light. And Koei, well, Tecmo Koei eventually, but Koei at the time, was well known for their simulation games, for their titles like Nobunaga's Ambition, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Genghis Khan, Liberty or Death, Bandit Kings of Ancient China. These are people who made very serious historical simulation games, so it should come as no surprise that when they did an airline game, they put exactly the same level of detail into it. And you have to say it looks really good for a game that came out fairly late into the Mega Drive life cycle, February 18, 1994 in Japan, so you would definitely want to praise them for the amount of effort they put in. This spinning Earth looks about as good as anything you're going to get on Genesis. The footage of the planes arriving was adequate for the console at the time, and obviously each turn they're giving you all the information in what would be, if you understood Japanese, a clear and easy to read interface. And it keeps track of the time as each turn goes by. Seems to be spans of 3 months spread out over a year, and every now and then you get an intermittent beeping that lets you know some important historical event has taken place, like a new country has declared independence, which is going to change your airline routes depending on whether or not you can fly over that country. And if the airline workers went on strike, then obviously you have to negotiate with them for higher or lower wages and benefits. So you get these little updates as the game is going along. It's very interesting, just very impossible to play in Japanese. And I wish that wasn't the case, because I feel like even though strategy games aren't necessarily my thing, I could see this becoming one of them with human players to play against, 1 to 4. Obviously, you need a multi-tap for 4 players, but that could be done. Or playing against 3 other computer opponents and trying to outmatch them to build up my airline industry. I mean, again, if it was in English, I think I could get behind that. The music is fine, the graphics are acceptable. Everything here is okay, and it was obviously good enough for them to build off of because they released a remake of it for MS-DOS in 96 called Air Management 96. It also came out on the Sharp X68000 computer, so it had a very good life cycle in Japan, as did a lot of Koei games. If it's any indication, I have a copy of Romance of the Three Kingdoms on NES, and it's one of the heaviest complete in box games I own because the manual in there is just thick. It's a thick boy. I would bet that if I had a copy of this for Mega Drive, it would be equally weighty because Koei does not skimp on anything. So you respect the hustle, you admire the muscle, even when you admit that it's just beyond your grasp to be able to play. But they can't all be that way on Genesis does. Sometimes they're going to be Mega Drive games that are almost entirely in Japanese, and there's nothing I can do about that. But I will say, if you read Japanese, if you're fluent in Japanese, I would give Air Management Oozora ni Kakeru a try. It looks like there's a lot here to dig into. If you get a complete in-box copy, even better, because I'm sure that instruction manual explains all the best ways to proceed and win the airline wars. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video with a hopefully less inscrutable game.